Welcome to Nourish by Spinneys, where we promise to inspire you to eat well and live well. I'm Devina Divecha.
And I'm Tiffany Eslick. We're continuing our chats with leading players in the food community, from farmers to foodies, as well as health and well-being experts. It's all about engaging conversations and fresh ideas. And we're continuing our focus on vegan and vegetarian this month, in style at the Spinneys studio.
Yes, so this time I'm joined by 3 guests for the second time this season. Just that this time they're not related to each other like the mother and daughter trio we had from 3 by Eva Halasa.
That was such a fun episode.
Yep.
So who's joining us today?
So today we're diving into the world of vegetarian and vegan supper clubs. We've got Surabhi Sehgal, who's the newest entrant on the supper club scene with Sebze by Sue. We have Priyansh Parekh, who's been running Prunch, coming on 4 years now. And Priyal Mehta, the woman behind Dulce de Mirchi.
And we take our research very seriously here at Nourish.
Yes.
So you have eaten at each of these 3 supper clubs over the last couple of weeks.
I have, and maybe next time we shouldn't have 3 unrelated guests on at the same time for that reason. It's a lot of eating. Research. We kicked off by finding out what inspired each of them to start a supper club versus the traditional route of opening or working in a restaurant. Here's Surabhi.
So for me, I've been now working on social media for almost 12 years. And owning a restaurant, cafe has been like a dream.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm back in Dubai, because that's ultimately what I want to do. But I think it's taking a bit of time. And, all through these years, people have seen my work on social media and they've always said, oh, it looks great, but does it taste good? Or they've said that we really want to eat this food.
Yeah.
And 2 years back, I decided that, okay, enough of just making content and videos. And I really want to do pop-ups and I want the food to go out because the food is great. It just doesn't look good. It tastes good. And it's unique. The recipes are original. And I really wanted to bring the food out. So I was just getting very anxious once I got to Dubai and I realized that the cafe was taking too long. And, I just wanted people to know about my food. I wanted them to experience it. I wanted them to know how beautiful and delicious plant-forward cuisine can be and wholesome. Like, it's not an incomplete experience. I want you to go back from the supper club and feel that you did not miss eating meat. So I just wanted everyone to come and experience that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait anymore. So I just had to do it.
Yeah, for me, it's like, the perfect platform to keep trying new dishes. And like over the years now, like I literally I have like books and books of recipes I've written, and I can do a series of cookbooks now, which eventually I would really, really love to do.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that too. But I love the idea of a supper club because for me, like, it allows me to, I'm a very creative person as well. So it's like the perfect playground to like experiment, with new ingredients and different dishes. And usually people who come to supper clubs are people with an open mind. Like, 90% of the people who come to my tables are like neither like vegan or vegetarian.
Absolutely.
So they're already coming here like with an open mind to try something completely different and be at a supper club. So usually when you come to supper club, you're meeting like-minded people who are and the one thing you definitely all have in common is you love food. So I just absolutely love even connecting to everyone. So it's not only about like me making the dishes. I love the whole experience of being with everyone. I've made so many friends through my tables over the years. So I absolutely love it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. What about you, Priyansh? Why did you decide to start doing what you were doing, and when as well?
So I was in architecture school in Australia, and then COVID happened. So they sent us all back home. And I had a lot of time home doing nothing. And so I had made an Instagram account, but it was just for my friends. It was like 20 followers. And I would just post just random, like, I ate a granola bar today, it was very like, it was just that era of Instagram. It was a joke. Like it was known as a joke.
Okay.
It was still called Prunch and everything. It was just a whole thing. And then suddenly people started following me that I didn't know. And I was like, why are you here?
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
And then I was like, maybe I should start posting recipes because they're here now. Might as well. And I did that. And then more and more people started following me to the point where people were like, why can we try your food? What can we? And I'm like, I don't have any experience in this, whatever.
Right.
So at some point I thought, hey, maybe I should try doing like a Christmas event. And then I was like, let me do a 7-course Christmas menu that's fully vegan and gluten-free.
For your first try,
For
that's
my
what
first
that's
try
what
ever.
you wanted. Okay.
Yeah. And I found a cafe that was willing to host us,
Okay.
and the capacity was 40 people.
Okay.
It was like, easy. How hard could that be? Like 40 people doesn't seem like a lot. Like I have,
This is building up to it.
yeah,
Like,
I have
it's
like
awesome.
300 followers. 40 people is like 10%. Like, yeah, they'll come. We'll have lines outside. you know?
That's what we all think, right?
And then, I mean, I didn't do the math right. I mean, obviously.
No.
But we managed to sell out.
Okay.
It was super cheap. Like I don't think I made any money from that.
Okay.
But we managed to sell out, and it was really good. I had so much fun. I learned so much, and I thought, okay, this could be something. And then that place called me back to do another one next month. And then we ended up doing one for Dubai Food Festival.
Oh, very cool.
2 months after, which is when we did Elemental, which was our 5-course elements thing, and it was insane. It was like when the air course came out, we had bubbles everywhere. And the fire course was like flambéed on your table for every
So very
guest.
theatrical.
It was insane. It was like one of the craziest things I've ever done.
So you never went back to architecture school?
No.
Okay. I'm just checking.
They closed the borders for like 2 years. So,
Yeah.
So I
gave that
just
one up.
I pretty much had to build another life on the side.
I mean, it's not too bad, is it?
It's meant to be. Right?
Yeah, it was meant to be. Yeah.
I liked, we were talking about like ingredients and all of you, like your love for vegetables and, what made you do this. How do you curate or come up with the ideas for what's on your menu? Because, you're changing your menu, you've had a few iterations, and you also have different versions. So I'd love to hear just a bit more about how you think about what's going on, is there a theme that you're thinking about when you're planning? What goes into it?
There are 2 things for sure. Like one is 100% travel. Like the more and more, like for me, like I travel like to different countries and get inspired from the different cultures and do so many different workshops when I travel. Like the number one thing I always do is I learn things from different countries when I go there. That's like on my priority list.
You were in Japan, right?
I
Recently?
Yes, I was in
listening to
Japan
that.
recently, and like 25-30% of the itinerary was doing different workshops.
Amazing.
Like, learned like tofu and ramen and mochi and like udon, tempura. Did so many different workshops, and it's also just the different dining experiences which I did, and like being inspired by such amazing chefs around the world. And it makes me so happy now that even a place like Japan, like when my memory of Japan before was when I went when I was 6 or 7 years old, and there was no food to eat for vegetarians, and my memory was eating Maggi and cider. It's like that's what it was. Versus now, my recent trip to Japan, like I have like pages and pages of recommendations for you of where you can find amazing vegan and vegetarian food. So it makes me really happy to see like the change happening and like really extraordinary experiences. So that keeps pushing me to do more for sure as well.
What about you?
It's mostly I try to wait for the idea to come to me before the supper club. So like if I get an idea, then I'm like, okay, cool, we can turn this into a supper club for one menu or whatever. I've never repeated a menu also, which is like something that I want to constantly do. And it's not a great move, like business-wise, because obviously by the time someone's seen the menu, they're like, oh, cool, I want to come to that. And then that's not that menu anymore. So it's really hard to market it as well. But I want to enjoy that creativity of food at this point, and I want to keep like changing it up. I want to enjoy, just being in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I feel like that monotony would just be like working in a restaurant. And that's why I wanted to do this, because I didn't want that feeling of like making the same thing again and again and getting comfortable in that. I want to be freaking out in the kitchen like, I've never tried this before. I don't know why I decided this would be a good idea right now. But yeah, so I wait for the inspiration to come to me, and then I will be like, all right, let's do an event. Let's do this. Let's do that. And yeah, it's just pretty much it's like me sitting down and with my like book and paper, and we'll be like, I have it on me at all times, that book. Like it's just, if sometimes I wake up at like 3 a.m. while I'm going to drink water or something, I'm like, that's a great idea, I'll write it down. I wake up and I'm like, that actually was a nightmare. I don't think that was
not gonna work.
Yeah, like let's cancel that out. But yeah, so I'm always like trying to write stuff down.
Okay. How about you, Surabhi?
So for me, inspiration, I mean, of course, travel, like she said, we've traveled a lot. We've lived in 6 countries. But I I'm from the north, like I learned from my grandmother. So my food, if you'll eat it, you'll of course be taken back to your grandmother's food. But of course, there's a lot of influence because of our travels and living and traveling in different countries. But I've made a conscious decision to just stick to Indian and Mediterranean cuisine. I did not want to do many cuisines because I want to be known, and I fuse them very seamlessly. Like if you've seen it, like the Mediterranean, there's a lot of fresh elements. So Indian food can be heavy, right? So I want to make it very fresh and vibrant and flavorful, and Mediterranean food is all that. So my inspiration is vegetables and colors, and of course, keeping it very fresh and simple and beautiful. Yeah.
Have you guys found that there's challenges in maybe either marketing or kind of building a community around vegetarian or vegan food, specifically with supper clubs? I'm guessing there must be misconceptions coming everyone's way around, what people can find. I mean, you were telling me some stories as well.
Yeah, always, because my first supper club, I remember we had one person from from Dubai and one from Bahrain, and I don't know how they booked and how they came, but they came. And they really thought they were going to go hungry because they had plans to go to a restaurant later. Because they told us later, and they were blown away. They said that we thought we were going to just eat raw vegetables or a salad or a soup, and what is this food? Like, it's so, and they didn't miss eating meat. But you're right, to build a community is hard. I find it harder here than in India. In India, it was very easy because a lot of people in India are vegetarian. And our vegetarian food is very wholesome, which a lot of people don't know. It's a complete nourishing experience. So I'm finding, also I've just started a month back. So maybe they are better to talk about it. But of course, it'll take me time to build that community for people to know about me. But we'll keep trying. Yeah.
No, you'll get there. Don't worry. It's great, guys. Go. But yeah, how about you guys? You've been doing it for, a few years now. How have you found that experience? Just also, again, misconceptions, but building that community.
The funny thing is, like, in the last 2 years, I stopped promoting it as a vegan supper club. Okay. So initially before, I used to shout out plant-based.
Yeah.
And now I've stopped doing that because I realized of course, when people are booking the experience, they do know that eventually they do. I do tell them, but I realized that for a lot of people, it's like a mind block that because they have like these preconceived conceptions about what a vegan experience would be like. And so this is something I've tried differently in the last 2 years. And that's why I have a very different crowd on my table. Okay. But I definitely do. I want more like vegans and vegetarians also to come. But my private dinners are where I mainly host those groups. But for the supper clubs, I think it's powered by the food community for sure.
Have you found necessarily a change after you switch to not saying that
100%. Okay. But when people book and message, I have a message which is very clear that it's a plant-based, because I don't want to be telling people that, but the funny part is because I do private dining and the supper club. So for the private dining, so often still I get so many calls on, okay, let's book this catering, and then 5-10 minutes in the call I'm like, yeah, so, and then they're like, oh, so for the mains we'll do some seafood and meat, and I'm like, oh, I thought that you knew that I only do vegetarian.
You even know me?
Yeah, it's okay. So I feel like that is I've had both ends of the spectrum. I've had these amazing clients who are hardcore meat eaters, and they've trusted me to come to their homes and host private groups, and they've had their guests from abroad and never tried my food before and trusted me to host for them. And I really, really respect that. And for you to be able to, for someone who's not vegetarian to do that, I think that's that's a really open mind, and I'm very happy about that. Yeah. But I do want more vegans and vegetarians also coming. But I'm just happy that there's such an open mind here in Dubai. Yeah. So that makes me happy. Yeah.
Have you had a similar experience with that? Or?
Yeah, I don't get a lot of vegans coming to the event, but I feel like I'm happy about that. Not that I don't want them to come. please come. But also, it's just good to know that there are people, because the vegans are on my side. Like I know that like they know what that this food exists.
Yeah.
But if I can change a non-vegan's mind and into being like, okay, maybe I could eat a full meal that does not have any meat or dairy, and especially I think there's an extra block for vegan. Even vegetarians are like, I don't want to eat that. And you're like, you're already vegetarian, so what do you?
Just one more step.
Yeah, just one more step. But I'm the same. Like if someone's giving me something gluten free, I'm like, yeah, but I don't want that. Like, I could eat gluten. So I get it. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm not. But yeah, I think it's. I mean, just as long as people are coming, and then word of mouth is like the quickest way to get
100%,
supper clubs done.
Yeah.
You can have the best marketing, but for supper clubs to work, you need the 8 people there to enjoy, or like the 10 people
Tell
there
others.
to really enjoy it, and then go tell other people.
I mean, the table that I was sitting at for your supper club, there was 6 of us on the table, and out of that, I think 2 were vegans, and 2 were vegetarians.
Okay.
And then myself and another person, we were like, we eat everything.
Wow, you guys like our sample size.
Yeah,
basically.
we were
like,
really
we're like, all right, cool.
Really
Like-
good sample size.
Like
So-
33% vegan. Yes.
Yeah, so that was for me. It was just like, oh, it's a nice mix of like people
Yeah.
who eat different
Yeah.
different things. Obviously you do get people who eat non-vegetarian food coming to your supper clubs. Do you have a dish on the menu, or whether it's a current menu or a past menu or a future one, that you're like, this will convert them? I know it will. It's the winner. It's the dish that will make them change their mind completely about vegan food or vegetarian food.
For me, I would say in my 2 menus back, which I did, which was also a Thai menu.
Okay.
I made like a curry pop, which is a hand rolled pastry,
Mhm.
and it was a jackfruit potato filling. And for me, like I absolutely love fresh jackfruit. So my intention actually never is, when I'm making something, to make it taste like meat.
Yeah.
Personally, I know a lot of chefs do that, but for me, it's not. It's more about just celebrating the beauty of the ingredient itself. But a lot of feedback I got from people who came on that table was, this tastes like meat.
Okay.
And I was like,
Okay.
that's great, but that wasn't the
Yeah.
intention.
But if it makes you eat more of this.
And like, some people like literally didn't believe that it's vegetarian. And I was like, okay, all right. But for me, so it's not, I don't intend to do that, but if it works for someone that way, then, and that's it. But I don't think for me personally, when I'm creating things, I have that in the back of my mind personally. But yeah.
Fair. How about you guys?
Yeah.
I mean, I love messing around with like the people that come to
Okay.
in the best way possible, guys. Please come. But I love the first 3 courses to be something that they're like, yeah, this is a vegan menu. Like there's a salad, there's a soup. It's like, obviously it's going to be more than just that, but they're going to see that and be like, come on, like this is vegan food. I know I'm going to eat a salad, I'm going to eat a soup.
Right.
But I feel like I always put a lot of effort into making that main taste like it's not vegan,
Right.
and making the dessert taste like it's not vegan. And usually like the main and dessert, which is the last 2, tries like gets them to be, even I feel like even when they eat the first 3 courses, they're like, oh, there's just 2 more left and I'm still like hungry. But by the time they've finished that main and they get to the dessert, they're like, I'm so full.
Yeah.
So that's how I mess with them.
Yeah, but don't knock your soup. The one with the gunpowder butter was amazing. That was
I know.
so
I mean,
good.
yeah, there's still
I
effort
was
put
just
into
like,
it.
I want to make my own gunpowder butter at home. Yeah.
Thanks. No, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of effort put into it. But like when you look at it and when you're taking pictures of it and posting it, everyone's like, yeah, that's soup and salad. It's like a mushroom skew. Even the mushroom is, I put a lot of effort into cooking mushrooms because I just love mushrooms. And the amount of people that have eaten mushrooms at my dinners are like, I don't usually like mushrooms, but those were good. Because everyone's used to like the same one button mushroom or like the canned mushrooms that they eat in some place. And they're like, I hate mushrooms. Like, no, just not eating.
Came from a cat.
Yeah. It's the worst.
There is canned mushrooms.
Yeah, it's.
I love that you do it.
I can taste it right
That we
now.
don't
It's
know that.
ruining my
I have
life.
no idea that there's canned mushrooms in this world. There are?
Yeah, you don't.
They don't taste like mushrooms.
my
They don't do justice
This
for
is
For
rubber.
anyone
mushrooms.
listening, the look on Surabhi's face right now is amazing.
I thought he's kidding. Really?
No, I swear, and it's like rubber. It's like chewing into rubber. It has
It's
no
quite
taste.
rubbery and like.
Who's buying them?
Yeah, so the canned mushrooms became an ongoing joke throughout the episode.
Okay, let's talk a bit about your experience at the supper club. Let's
Yep.
start with Priyal's Dulce de Mirchi, which you went to last.
Yes, so she was running her Thai-inspired menu, and she says on the episode as well that Thai food is considered to be quite meat and seafood heavy. So this was her way of showcasing the produce of that region. It's really a fabulous insight on how to make vegetables truly shine. There were some interesting Thai twists on dishes like guacamole, for example, which was really quite interesting to taste. We also had her parents on the same table that night, which was really sweet. And there was one guest who has tried every single one of her menus.
You know, I feel terrible. I have been meaning to go to her supper club.
you
and
must.
I will. That is on the list for this year.
You must.
What about Prunch?
Okay, so this was the first one I tried in my series of supper club trials. And it was in a beautiful garden setting, which was absolutely lovely. There were a range of dishes, but I think my favorite from the night was a slow roasted tomato soup, where this thing called a gunpowder butter made the dish just shine. And this flavor profile was very similar to South Indian rasams, but it definitely inspired me to want to infuse my own butter with gunpowder and see what happens. So just a note for everyone, if you see clips from this episode on YouTube or on social media, Priyansh actually crashed into a door and injured himself during the supper club evening, which is why he's wearing a bandage during the recording.
Oh, goodness. I
Yeah.
was wondering because I bumped into him
Yeah.
after your recording and I was, what a shame.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was interesting because he does say as well that he just kept going through the dinner. We didn't realize anything had happened. We heard the crash and we turned around and he said, "I'm fine." And then he just kept going and then he needed stitches after that
Gosh,
night.
what a trooper.
Yes.
Okay, and finally over to Sebze Basu.
So this was less dramatic than Priyansh needing to go to the hospital. But Surabhi was great in terms of all the textures and colors. Her Instagram account is called Sue Paints on Plates, and that is exactly what she does. It was also perhaps the most intense one in a way. So her husband, Girish, who is also in the hospitality industry, almost runs the club front of house, with her handling the back of house. And he also ends up trying to get diners to talk to each other. So we had these cards with questions on them to answer, ranging from really innocuous thing to your favorite song, maybe, to something a bit more deep and a bit more personal. So we ended up talking to each other about personal moments, funny memories, and actually even got into a few sad ones. And genuinely, by the end of it, I didn't feel like I had met anyone for the first time. Welcome back. You're listening to Nourished by Spinneys and my conversation with 3 vegetarian and vegan supper club operators, Priyal Mehta, Priyansh Parekh, and Surabhi Sehgal. I mean, I'd like each of you to tell me if you have maybe that first, like that visceral memory of where you think this is where I fell in love with food. It's not necessarily about veg or vegan or anything. It's just you fell in love with food and you remember that moment.
For me, I think it's not a specific moment, but it was my whole time when I was in college in New York.
Okay.
And that's when I was fixed that I'm gonna be working in like marketing and
Right.
being gonna be in the corporate world, and like I was in design school, so the idea I had in like high school and college of what I would be doing is very different. And I think it's just New York as a city
Yeah.
for me. Like,
That's so beautiful.
yeah, that where I decided that this is where I'm going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
What I distinctly remember is being involved in the process of food,
Okay.
like with my parents, because we used to have, we still have an ice cream shop in like Karama
Oh, cool.
that
Wow.
my family runs.
Oh, which one?
Flavors.
Okay, I will go.
Yeah, you must.
Yeah.
Ice cream.
Yeah.
I love
But I
to go.
grew up with that, so
Yeah.
I've always been surrounded by
Right.
food and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
prep, and
Okay.
I was like, it was a very small business, and both my parents worked full time, so everyone was all hands on deck. And so I would be there just being annoying. So they'll be like, no, go mix nothing, you know? And so that's how like I remember just being a part of that and growing up in and around food. The signs were always there. I don't know why I went to architecture school, but I had to do like a full U-turn to come back to food, I guess.
Right.
Okay, so both of you had similar. You thought you were doing something else, and
Exactly.
then circumstances / I don't know, just life made you.
Yeah, and even just traveling for food. I do
Yeah.
this thing and my friends either love me or hate me for it. But there's one day where I would just do a food tour, and but I don't book one.
Oh my god! Yeah.
I don't book one. I will
Okay.
go on the internet and look up every food place, and then I will map it
We'll
out
map
on a
it
map,
out.
and then I will look at like what people are eating there, and I will pick one item to eat at each place, and it's like fully planned out, and like the
Just
path is
do your
planned
own
out.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but what my friends hate about it is if we go there and they're trying to order something that I haven't decided we're going to order there.
Right.
I'm like, no, this is going to ruin our appetite. It's going to ruin the tour.
Right.
You're gonna mess everything up.
Yeah.
We need to pace ourselves.
Yeah.
If after all this you want to come back and try something else, cool. But let's
Let's
stick to it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That's
it's just the love for food and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
trying food and walking to find food.
Did you also have a similar roundabout journey, or?
No, I fell in love with food ever since I was like really little because my
Okay.
grandmother was the most wonderful cook.
Okay.
And my love for food came from her because my mom was working. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother almost every afternoon after school. And she had this, like a coal oven. It's called angiti.
Yeah.
And she would cook on that. Like
Mhm.
they had a huge, we used to call it angan, like a veranda.
Yeah.
And then she would put so much love into everything, even if she was doing she used to do this lentil with spinach. And it would simmer for hours with like white butter. And then she would make the rotis, the makki roti in the coal oven. And I never knew that I never even went to like a chef school, and I did my master's in literature. But it was in me, right?
Yeah.
Like there's this quote, I don't know if I can remember, that every person who's cooking, and there's so many ancestors behind us who are cooking through our hands, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's in us. And for me, it was very clear. Like I learned from her, and every dish I do, like her influence is there.
You know, you said the supper club here in its format
Yes.
in Dubai started only about a month or so
Yes.
ago. But before that, were you also cooking elsewhere when you were traveling around the world, like in terms of doing pop-ups or supper clubs?
Yes,
Or-
I've done quite a few pop-ups.
Yeah.
I also work I was back in India recently. I did one Club Jolies. I did one at the Four Seasons with the
Nice.
Saudi government. So I've tried to do a lot of supper clubs. I resisted doing a supper club for very long. Like I've
Okay.
been here a year,
Yeah.
and a lot of people told me, do a supper club. Why don't you do one? And I was really not sure if, to have people come in your home is not the most comfortable feeling, to have like strangers. And that was something that I was not sure about.
Right. Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it took me a while, but then I'm so glad I did it, because whoever's come has been like so warm and sweet and welcoming and, open-minded. So I'm kind of enjoying it now. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's a certain kind of person, like you said as well, right?
Right.
Who
Yes.
does want to try
Yes.
these things.
Yes.
As well.
Absolutely. I also think it's Dubai as
Yeah.
a city, because I also had I was staying in Bombay for a while as well, and I tried doing some supper clubs there, and I just feel like the crowd which I get in Dubai is a lot more open-minded. Like I felt like in Bombay maybe I just did a few and it wasn't enough, but the few groups which I did, I felt like my focus was too much being out of the kitchen trying to get people to talk to each other, because they would just come and talk to only the people they knew, and it wasn't. I feel like that
hard.
concept wasn't there
There
like
yet.
it is
Yeah.
here. So
Yes.
I feel like the city makes it a lot easier as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people just seeking community, right? A lot of people have
Exactly.
just moved here, whereas in India there's so much established already.
Exactly.
You're
Yeah.
there because you've had ancestors, like
Right,
you've had
yeah.
generations of people just there, and you've got so much support and like so much to fall back on.
It's exactly
Whereas
that.
over here, people don't have that, and so they feel the need to go out of
Absolutely.
their way
Yeah.
to put themselves in a position where they're sat on a table around so many strangers, eating food that they've never eaten before,
Yeah.
being made by somebody they barely know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is a crazy thing to explain to like a Victorian child.
Yeah. Are there any kind of memorable moments from your supper clubs, like something that maybe stands out in the time that you've ever done them?
When we were doing the 7 Deadly Sins menu, one of the dishes was green with envy.
Okay.
And everyone had like a different green sauce. And I told them that everyone had a different green sauce.
Okay.
But it looked the same or whatever. And that was the whole point. Like, you didn't know if the other person's tasted better
Right.
or not.
Okay.
So it made you envious. And when I came back, everyone's like, we couldn't tell which one's different. We tried each other's
All right.
sauce. And I'm like, well, I guess you failed or whatever. You know, like maybe there was one different or maybe there wasn't. That just is with me. But I think that was fun because everyone, like, you're a bunch of strangers 4 courses in are now eating from each other's plates the same dish.
Yeah.
You know, trying to find out like if there's one that's different.
I don't have we just started. So, I mean, of course, people have loved and whatever. But I do have one. I met this girl who'd been following me for a few years, and she told me it was a very beautiful story. So she had seen one of my videos like many years back. There's a video that I've pinned which kind of went viral. I do this uttapam, and she'd seen it, and she said, I fell in love with your work. This about like 3 years back. And she said, I kept telling myself that one day I want to eat her food.
Yeah.
And she booked the supper. So I said, maybe you manifested this for me because, you know, I never really thought
yeah,
I'll
at the
do a
time you
supper.
didn't have a supper club.
And she
Okay.
said, I have been telling like the universe that one day I want to eat her food, and she was there, and it gave me like goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
you
crazy.
manifested
that's
this
so
for me.
sweet.
Yeah.
It's honestly, for me, it's the memories are like the people who come like really make it special for me.
Aw.
And like, you know, it's very special.
Yeah, like connecting with
Yes.
community just seems to be a common
Yes,
common thread
absolutely.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that the attitude towards plant forward is changing? Have you seen that kind of in maybe family or friends or just generally around you? Like, where do you think we are at with that kind of concept of what plant food is, or vegetarianism or veganism even, that you're noticing just in the community in general?
Around me, it's changed a lot. I mean, because of me, I guess.
Yeah.
Before me, nobody had to think about a vegan person attending all their events. You know,
Okay.
it's just proximity, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, so now before it was like, why are you going vegan, blah blah, and
Yeah.
now it's, hey, we have this vegan option for you at our event,
Right. Yeah.
and so now they're more mindful about it, and that helps because it isn't just vegan people, but then we now have lactose intolerant people who can eat that. You know, we've got a bunch of other people that identify with different things that can eat that, and also everybody can eat the vegan option. So it's always safe to just have one vegan option no matter what. So I've seen that change around me of like attitude of people just accepting it and not being like, you're going to die of protein deficiency. Said nobody ever, I guess.
I think it's definitely like a step forward to like when I first started, for sure.
Yeah.
But I still do see like a lot of people like hesitating, or like when they hear that it's plant-based, they'll be like, oh, like, you know,
With
like
a pause.
So, but what I've noticed a lot is that when the people who, and that's what, going back to what Priyansh said, is the word of mouth is very important, because when it comes through a recommendation, like, you know, that's what really pushes people. But I do think that, you know, there's still, like, there is a little bit of a block in a lot of people, and because they know that it's plant forward, they won't come to try it.
Yeah.
Which makes it even more like, pushes me more and more as a chef to do more and more to break that misconception. So for me, it just keeps me going.
So there's a question that we ask all our podcast guests, and it's not related to the topic at all. It's a doozy. So the question is, what is it that nourishes your soul?
Music.
Okay.
Yeah, I love my time with, I listen to a lot of music. I mean, not really trained, but I trained as a classical singer when I was
Oh,
very
wow.
little. Yeah,
Can
very
you,
little.
no,
Can't sing at all
okay, no,
anymore.
Sorry.
But I
like
trained.
maybe
You
it was
have
lots
to
of-
try.
No.
Yeah, don't ask, don't get.
No. In fact, Girish and I met at a Spikmake, the Society for the Promotion of Indian Classical Music and
wow.
Culture amongst the youth. It's a big thing in India. So we met at a concert.
Is he also a trained
No.
singer?
He was just there. So we
Oh,
met
okay.
at a concert. I was in the green room with Asad Ali Khan Saab, and he came asking for water. Yeah. So music is, I think, what nourishes my soul. Yeah.
Now they're running a supper club
Yeah,
together.
I need to ask for water. I think sunsets, feel like that's a weird, but like I have every sunset I've seen, I have a picture of it, and it's ruining my life. It's like storage wise,
Yeah, sure.
just it's all like, it's not all the same, but
Yeah.
Let's be real. I could get rid of some. But yeah, sunsets. Music is great. Like my Spotify is like telling me to stop listening to as much music as I do. They're like, hey, this is 0.001% of the world listening to the music. Please relax.
Chill.
Who was your top artist in Spotify Wrapped?
It's too embarrassing to share.
We'll get it later.
Yeah. Bonus episode. That's
For me, I would say definitely travel again.
Okay.
It's like a very like big like part of me. Like it really refreshes me. Also, just to like keep learning and the different experiences from travel.
none of us answered food to the nourish.
For what, nourishing your soul?
Yeah.
But for me, that's part of the travel as
Yeah,
well,
I
for
guess.
sure. Like,
Yeah,
but
food is all like
Yeah.
that would be too predictable.
Yeah, I know.
right?
That's why I was like, wait,
Yeah.
what we
Food
meant to
and-
say? Like,
Music.
You don't have to say
no, I
food.
know, but I thought after I answered that, I'm like, wait, maybe that's like off-brand.
no, but that 100% does. of
That's
course.
there,
That's
that-
like given for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't do what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just like hating, like, oh, I hate this.
Yeah, have to cook.
This stupid mushroom.
Stupid canned
Canned
mushrooms.
We're not going to call this episode canned mushroom, okay? It's not happening. He'll send me suggestions later for what we call like an episode, and I'm just preempting.
Yeah.
There is no canned mushrooms
And
in
Sue
this
is just going to be like,
episode.
I'm not associated with this at all.
These people.
It's like the most clickbait. Beyonce eats canned mushroom. No, I need to step away from this whole canned mushroom.
Like,
It's really, yeah. Like I've said it too many times now. I've never had to say it before.
You know, this might be a good time to tell people that we have a mushroom farm here in the UAE, and you've been there, Devina.
Yes, so I spoke to Bronte Ware from Below Farm last year, so we leave a link for that in our episode notes. And of course, you can also find them at spinneys.com, along with fresh produce and a variety of local and exclusive products. This episode was brought to you by Spinneys and is hosted by me, Devina Divecha, and Tiffany Eslick. We're produced by Chirag Desai. Don't forget to follow Spinneys on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok for more.
We'll be back again in 2 weeks with a new episode. See you then.